Hey everybody, just waiting to see if anybody hop on. Hey brotherly love, long time no see. Hello. Just gonna talk real briefly today. Not gonna hold y'all up. I'll save it and put in my, what do you call those things? IGTVs, for anybody who comes in late. Peace. So, talking about abandonment issues, it came across my heart early this morning to talk about this, and I'm finally here. And as a person who grew up in foster care and went through various foster homes before being emancipated, finally at 21, and then having to literally relive that journey all over again until I was in my early 30s because I had no foundation. That's with people who grow up without homes or who grow up in homes where there's no stability, generally come around to adulthood with abandonment issues. What I found for myself was in the beginning, after 21 being emancipated from the state, and having to figure out how to take care of myself and how to be an adult, because I was never taught those things, even though I felt very adult very young because I always had to look out for myself. But there was a lot of things that were not instilled in me, because foster care is not for that. And broken homes don't generally, when I say broken homes, I mean, I'm going to talk from my perspective. I don't know my dad. My mom was a drug addict, and she had a lot of issues because she came from an abusive home. She didn't know her dad until she was in her teens. So this was a generational thing that passed on. My mother was the first group home in DC ever in the 60s. So she predated the life that she passed on to me and my siblings. And this is what happens when you are not looking around and not paying attention and taking note, and you don't have the time or energy to be clear about how your life is shaping out, and she didn't have that. But luckily, by the time I turned 21 and was emancipated from the state, I had 3 free years of college, graduated from high school, and had finagled my way into a very well-paying job at 21. But outwardly, I looked like an adult, but inwardly, I was probably a 12-year-old kid, somewhere between 8 and 12 years old, functioning emotionally, and had a very hard time with abandonment. It made me susceptible to a lot of abuse. It made me susceptible to clinginess and neediness and what do you call those, codependent relationships, things like that. And a lot of people will think, well, I don't have abandonment issues. But if you felt like one or both of your parents were not there for you over a prolonged period of time, you have abandonment issues. If you had to be the adult in your home and take care of yourself and do things that adults should have been doing, you have abandonment issues. A lot of times we think just because we weren't dropped off at a hospital or we didn't grow up in foster care, we don't have abandonment issues. But abandonment issues come from a variety of different exposures in our childhood. In your childhood, from ages birth to 25, and I'm saying to 25 again because the prefrontal cortex that helps development and understanding in the brain does not develop until you're 25. I'm going to keep drilling that. From birth to 25, without a foundation, a steady, secure foundation, you are going to develop some type of abandonment issue. And it is going to show up in neediness, needing to people please, over people please, needing to be codependent and find your worth in others. It's going to show up. It has no choice, because those things have to show up so that you can heal them. You can get to the root of them and really learn how to transform that supposed lack conversation into a healing conversation. And a lot of times we're functioning as if we are, well and have it together, because that's how we've always had to function, because there was no adult or no foundation for us to fall back on. So we are moving in our outwardly to the world and to ourselves in a way that is very well put together, but emotionally we are not functioning as an adult. Emotionally we're physically taking on adult things, but emotionally we're functioning as children. We're functioning as when that last time we felt secure with an adult, or secure in a home, or secure in a family structure. And I always implore people to go back to those moments and really search out that energy. What did that feel like? What was those feelings when you last felt like someone had your back? Because those are the feelings that you're going to have to learn how to instill in yourself in order to overcome your abandonment issues, in order to get past being codependent, in order to stop people pleasing, in order to stop trying to look outside of yourself for worth. And that could also show up, abandonment also could show up as purchases, buying things in order to feel good. Sometimes we don't even need the shit we purchase. We just want it because this says, oh, I didn't have this as a kid, or nobody bought this for me when I was growing up. I can do it for myself now. And then it's a false sense of identity, a false sense of self, a false sense of self-love. And it helps us, it makes us think that we have it together when we are really crying out and need some real structure in our lives, some real love, some real faith in ourselves. And so I just, this was on my heart so heavy, and I just wanted to get it out, because a lot of us are really struggling with this, and we would not call it abandonment. We would say, because we don't know what it looks like. And then the codependent relationships based on abandonment. And we have a lot of hot words going around the internet. What do you call it? Gaslighting, narcissist, those types of words that are, used in memes and so on and so called. But all of us have the potential to be gaslighters. All of us have the potential to be narcissists. My mother was a narcissist, raised by a narcissist. So how could I not have narcissistic behavior? That's something you have to work on. When you become so victimized, so full of yourself that you had to do everything yourself. I can't nobody help me. I'm the best at this, or I gotta take care of it. When you get really into that shit, when you really start feeling like you're the only one who got your back, here come the narcissist. Here comes the narcissistic behavior. Here comes you becoming a gaslighter in your life. You abusing the people in your life. Here comes you being the person who you ran from as a child, who you hid from as a child, your parent. Here come you. That shit is in you. All of that is a part of that work, is really fishing that shit out, really taking the time and seeing how I attract these things in my life, especially people and relationships. When you get a person in your life that's truly abusive, truly abusive. How am I abusive to myself? How am I abusive to the people around me? How am I harming myself? How do I harm others? Those are the questions like we really have to ask. And it's not about blaming the victim or whatever, but it's really about standing in responsibility for everything that shows up in your life and not allowing yourself to become powerless, because the powerlessness brings the abandonment issues up, and it brings up the painful abuse shit. Because if you've been abused and if you've been neglected, you are good at it. You are excellent at doing it to others, because you have a playbook. And this is something that a lot of people who've been abused and neglected and harmed don't like to think about, but it's real. We are probably top-notch abusers, top-notch neglectors, narcissists, gaslighters. So that's the part, that's really the deep shadow work that a lot of people who have been abandoned and harmed really have to work on. Because, not saying that you want to be that way, but you have the capacity. And that's the part that we get to heal. The capacity to harm ourselves, the capacity to harm others, because we don't feel good, because we've been abandoned, because we've been unloved, because we've been thrown away. That's everything. I only speak until it's done. I love you guys. I'm going to go through. Y'all are so amazing. Thank y'all for tuning in. I hate how they do these lives now where they delete all the damn comments. So I'm going to try to go through real quick. Thank you for all the kind comments. Oh. And yes, healing is a never-ending process. I really believe that as long as we're on this spinning rock, we chose and we continue to choose to do the work of healing. And that starts with us. We should always be looking at ourselves. As soon as we start looking outside of ourselves and looking at other people, we know that we're distracting ourselves and that we don't want to do the work at the moment. If we could just be honest and say, I don't feel like fucking with me no more. Now I'm looking at other people. Just don't fuck with other people. Just go sit in the corner, mind your business until you feel like dealing with yourself again. It is possible to not have to do healing work 24/7. You do not have to be picking at yourself all the time. You are worthy of gentleness and love and kindness and patience, and you deserve it, and you give it to yourself first, and you will manifest. Another buzzword we like to use, which basically means attract, create, expand. What you do for yourself is created for you outside of yourself. That's all that is. You be kind to yourself, people are kind to you. You be loving to yourself, people are loving to you. You be gentle to yourself. That's how that goes. And I pray that y'all are gentle to yourselves this Sunday and loving and kind to yourselves. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.